you open your book as far as like when you get to the retrievals with an ancient story, and it's the only one of its kind in
Yeah.
there, and it's about Turkey,
Yep.
and it's about at Mount Ararat,
Yep.
and specifically, you're getting into the question of whether or not you're looking at the remnants of Noah's Ark, and somehow it's tied to UFOs. Can you please explain this?
Sure. Yeah. Well, um, Nick Redfern did some original work on this, but the CIA had paid a lot of attention to Mount Ararat with 1957 overflights of U-2, and then 74 and 78, and then maybe a special operations team dropped in and pulled out
75?
pulled out an alleged rusty old saucer, so
That
to
was our
speak.
boy Dale Comstock down there, baby. Delta Force.
Delta Force. Yeah. And so but what's fascinating about that story is that multiple congressmen pushed the CIA and the intelligence community to say, give me the photographs. I mean, what's the big deal? Why can't I have a 1957 YouTube overflight? Give me the 9-inch negative of Mount Ararat. And to this day, they won't declassify it and give it to you. And several other congressmen asked the same thing. And so I find it an interesting sort of early tickler that they're hiding something. There's something important, something classified about something so old, about an old piece of dirt in the middle of Turkey. And from there, I go from 3000 BC to 1897 in
to
Aurora, Texas. Yeah.
But that's great. Like they're trying to date Noah's Ark, which is this not just ancient biblical story, it's this ancient story that exists on different planes across pretty much like every ancient text.
Right. Yeah.
And they're trying, and there's a question there that like, oh, is there something extraterrestrial about it? Like, was it the aliens that said Earth is going to flood?
Yeah.
And we're going to send you a UFO hovercraft,
Yeah, I mean,
Noah.
It's speculation, but did the aliens cause the flood? Because this is the ancient alien theory, right? Is that Nephilim, or the giants, were getting too rambunctious with the humans, and they needed to wipe it off and start over, so they created the flood. But I'm just speculating what I heard, but I don't have any evidence for that.
But you mentioned the Aurora one.
Oh,
which
yeah,
is where you
yeah.
start getting into, like, your timeline
Yeah.
essentially goes from 1897 till almost present day.
Right,
of things that have been
2008.
found.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the 1897 case was started by the late Jim Mars, who he wrote the book Crossfire about the Kennedy assassination, did a lot of research. He was a Dallas-Fort Worth reporter, investigative reporter, and he did a lot of the work on the Aurora, Texas crash case. But in short, the rancher, I think, saw a UFO. It crashed into his windmill. There's a bunch of parts. They gave him a proper burial in the local cemetery.
They gave what was in the...
Yeah, they found a little body, and they gave it a proper burial in the local cemetery.
Who buried him?
The local ranchers in 1897, or the farmer. I can't remember his name. And there's even a plaque erected in Aurora, Texas, as a state monument there. So that was an interesting case. There was, apparently some radiation.
Didn't people's hands get fucked up?
Yeah, their hands got fucked up with a gourd, and there's some pictures in the book where they're all disconfigured. You don't know if it's from radiation poisoning or natural causes or some combination of the two. The other thing is that the headstone had a little sort of triangular picture and a circle on it. Apparently there was two parts of the headstone. One part went away, and then and then the little alien was buried with parts of the saucer of the event, but that was dug up and disappeared, and the headstone disappeared in I don't know, in the mid 70s or so forth.
Was he dug up too?
As far as I know, yes. And taken away.
So he's
alien.
gone.
Yeah. I mean, nobody knows where the exact gravesite is anymore. This is the historical reporting and research of both Jim Mars, and there was another investigator at the time that did that. And it sort of disappeared in the middle of the night. The typical sort of thing that happens with all crash retrievals.
But for 70 to 80 years, there was allegedly a body of a potential extraterrestrial buried in this Texas backwoods town.
Right, in their cemetery.
Open plain town.
Yeah, exactly.
And no one dug it up for 70, 80 years. That was the part that I was hung up on that one.
Yeah, nobody dug it up as far as I know. I mean, I'm not the primary investigator on the case. Jim Mars really was. And
who was Jim Mars again?
Jim Mars. He was an investigative reporter. He wrote a book called Rule by Secrecy, which is a very interesting classic, as well as he wrote the book JFK Crossfire,
right,
which was a national bestseller and all about the Kennedy assassination. He also wrote a book about 9/11.
He's hitting all of them.
He's hitting all of them. He was a conspiracy researcher, and he was very well known, very well respected. I mean, since you've never met Jim Mars, but he was, I remember out in Laughlin, Nevada at one of the UFO conferences, a bunch of us went off and he could really smoke a cigar and down his whiskey and tell these incredible stories. And it was impressive. And that was the charm of him, is that he was encyclopedic in his knowledge, you know. The same thing with like Rich Dolan. I mean, he can be very...
he can go.
Yeah, he can go. And that's the beauty of some of the people in ufology. And that's actually what motivated me in part to try to capture that wisdom into an artificial intelligence tool called ufodex.com, is to get all that information, to be able to pull it in and be able to query it in a responsible, interesting manner.
Yeah, we'll put the link to that down in the description for people. But essentially, you have it's AI that goes through all these different primary sources from ufology to answer a specific question you may have and spit it out.
Yeah,
for you.
That's well said. But you can ask, specific and challenging questions. You can do the simple things like, what's the ET agenda, or complicated things like compare and contrast the three major aerospace companies' efforts on reverse engineering. Please cite the names of the people and the programs if you have knowledge, and give me the sources and file names of your references. So you can do lots of different things, or everybody has questions. That's the thing, is everybody they have their own expertise, their own motivation, their own enthusiasm, and they want to get their question answered. I really enjoy presentations where, the speaker does, half speaking and half questions, because everybody in the audience has their own hot button.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to this case though in Aurora.
Yeah.
So if it gets dug up in the 70s, who's doing that, you think? Do they have any idea down there in Aurora who that might have been?
Well, I'm sure it's the control group, or MJ12. I mean, what's interesting is that in one of the Majestic documents, I think it's in 42 or 47, they mention, let's reinvestigate the Aurora, Texas 1897 case, or let's start there in our complete analysis of ufology. And so maybe it was back in the 40s that they started looking at it. Maybe in the 40s, the little alien was dug up. But the headstone was left where the parts were retrieved. Actually, now that I hear myself talk about it, I think that's what happened. Because any responsible intelligence agency or counterintelligence people would have said, "Oh, we got to get that. We can't let that hang around." So
they let it hang out there for a long time.
Yeah, well, if they got it in the 40s, they let it hang out for 50 years, So
yeah,
right.